Hello, everybody. Russell and Charity, WTF, and that's what the fixed ops to you. Normally we have a desk, we ping and pong and talk about a lot of things, but today it's just Charity and I. That's right, just Charity and I. We're going to be talking about NADA and what's coming up around the corner. Charity, what do you got to say about NADA?
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us for a special Christmas episode. We want to use this time to invite you and tell you about a presentation we're having at NADA 2023 on how electric vehicles will change fixed operations. It's a big topic. We've done a lot of research, we've prepared, and we want to tell you a little bit about it.
Yeah, very, very big topic, excuse me, to all of you out there. It seems to be a big electric vehicles, how to fix this, how to fix that, retention, repeat, referral, the power grid, the pros and cons, depleting natural resources. We're going to be talking about really a lot of stuff, but in the end, it's you're going to have to show up to actually understand the ending. But the journey we're going to take everybody on leads to a particular place. Don't you agree, Charity?
It does. It does. And it's, we're recording this in early December, and the presentation is late January. And so there's specific things that are happening in the news right now. But one of the topics we're going to cover is some of the obstacles that are happening for EV adoption. And we're going to try to keep it focused mostly to the United States. But some of the obstacles, for anyone who pays attention to the news, we've had a lot of assaults on the power grid, which Russell can tell you about. And those are very commonplace. We don't hear about them all that often, but they're actually more common than you think. And as you know, electric vehicles have to be plugged in to charge, and that electricity has to come from our power grid. And we've also, we've had a real bear market this year. So even Tesla, one of the main contenders in electric vehicles, is down 60% right now. So there's quite a bit of obstacles, and those are we can only just scratch the surface because there's so much to talk about.
There is, like Charity said, we're going to mainly be focused on the United States. There's other countries that are much further ahead down the road with EV adoption. And I like to refer to, any kind of adoption when you're talking about something of this magnitude, which seems to be a buzzword out there. About 8 out of 10 commercials all have or surround electric vehicles, which most people can't get, whatever the case may be. So, there's in any huge emerging technology or whatever it may be, usually it depends on the time frame, but it usually takes about 5% adoption before things really accelerate from there. And we're not quite there. Those are some of the things we're going to be talking about, but we're getting close, aren't we, Charity?
We're getting really close, and we would probably move a little faster if it weren't for a few hiccups that are unforeseen or unpredictable. So a lot of the people I know, Russell, that are waiting for electric vehicles are on a wait list. They're waiting a year or more to get their electric vehicles.
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with transportation, infrastructure, the chip shortage, the uncertainty around charging or infrastructure. A lot of very important things. Personally, they look great, but then you got level 1, level 2, level 3 charging systems. You got, what do you do about apartment complexes and high rise and office buildings and suburban areas, downtown areas where there's only parking on the street, parallel parking. I mean, range anxiety, places, charging deserts where there's nothing out there. Some people I've talked to, it's not a big deal. You think about taking a trip somewhere, the average person probably drives 48 miles a day. Not a big deal. Okay. Not a big deal. But where the big deal is that when you get told from, during the heat of the summer or the cold of the winter, hey, we gotta conserve our energy. So don't run major appliances or plug in your electric vehicles between 4 and 9 o'clock. I mean, this sends a huge message of uncertainty. Don't you agree?
I do. And, we should dive into that a little bit. So if you have an electric vehicle, so let's Biden, for example, his goal is to have all new car sales be electric by 2030. That's very ambitious. But what do they do if they live downtown in a condo, or if they live in an apartment complex, or they're traveling? We've spoken to people who have turned a 3-hour trip into an 8-hour trip because they're jumping from charger to charger to charger. And there's not enough of them, right? We have gas stations everywhere with pumps across the board, but what do people do? If everybody, I can tell you right now, Russell, if everybody in my town had an electric vehicle, we have one charging station here. It has 2 stations. That's probably not the right terminology. I can't think of it right now, but there's 2 and there's one charging station. So we would be in a lot of hurt.
Yeah. Listen, Biden and his lofty goals and where he'd like us to be, et cetera. Hey, more power to him. You and I have lofty goals and aspirations, the things we want to accomplish too. And I think that's great putting it out there. But this is some of the things we're going to talk about in ADA, the Inflation Reduction Act, referred to as many other things. But, the fact that just to keep up with that goal, we would need at least 478 new charging ports every day installed around the country. And it's just not happening in a timely manner. Hey, maybe, okay, that's great. You shoot for the stars and you hit the moon. I get it. Okay. But there's a lot of things that were the uncertainty ranges. You mentioned earlier about the power grid. I didn't know this. Very fascinating. There's only 3 of them. What do you mean 3? That's it. 3 power grids: the East power grid, the West power grid, and the Central power grid. That's it. There's 55,000 substations, all with a range of transformers at each one of those stations. You may have heard recently in the news, or most people don't know this, 38% of all power shortages that we experience around the country are due to assaults on our power grid. We're vulnerable. Yes, there's a lot of agencies that overlook this or that, or this or that, or that or this, but there's no one single entity that oversees all that and takes that into account. So we're very vulnerable and open, and people like you and I, and some of you out there, this area of concern. Hey, we want clean water. We want clean air. Nothing wrong with that. We're not opposing that. We're not for or against. We're just letting you know some things that where people, we're just not quite there yet. And there's some uncertainty there, and uncertainty is good. It makes technology and private companies excel at creating stuff. But when you got a electric vehicle that's got a 350-mile range until you pull a boat and you're good for about 100 miles, that represents its own challenges. And, with the multitudes of different types of electric vehicles out there and depleting the natural resources globally without proper recycling in place, which only 5% of batteries are even recycled in the United States. These are some areas and some things that we're going to talk about in ADA, right, Charity?
Right. And, the Inflation Reduction Act comes out, it goes into effect in January, which is when we'll be giving this presentation in ADA. And, there's a lot of restrictions built in it. So if you won't go to purchase an electric vehicle, there are price restrictions, there are income restrictions, there are restrictions based on where the vehicle is manufactured and where the minerals from the batteries come from. Now, lithium is one of the most plentiful minerals on Earth. But we're using it so quickly across the globe that Russell's right. If we don't recycle these materials, we'll run out. So we don't really have a good recycling system set up, especially in the US. And not to mention where we're sourcing the minerals for our batteries. It's a rough go in some of these third world countries where you talk about wanting to save the planet at the expense of children, deplorable conditions. It's real sad when you look at it.
Yeah, like what Charity's the Democratic Republic of the Congo. 89% of all cobalt comes from that, and it's almost like I think sometimes, okay, yeah, all these clean air and water, all that is a major concern. Emissions, I mean, all that we're very concerned about, very important to us. We have one of the, if not the cleanest country on the planet, but it's almost like don't do it here, get it from somewhere else. And if you looked at the deplorable conditions that Charity was talking about and how that affects third world countries, and who owns those minerals and metals and those rights to those things? most of it's controlled, or 80% of it worldwide is controlled by China. You remember what happened in the pandemic 3 years ago? Nobody wants to go through that again. The chip shortage, antibiotics, all the things that, and how that affected everything down the supply chain. We need to be really, really careful. Don't you think, Charity?
Yeah, we're very interwoven with globalization. If something happens across the world, it really impacts what we do here. And it puts us in a really tricky situation to be reliant on a foreign power for our main source of transportation. That's a dangerous thing to do. You can see it in Germany and a lot of the UK, where they have natural gas pipelines coming from Russia that were sabotaged. So that's 40% of their natural gas. How are they going to stay warm through the winter?
Yeah.
That puts them in a very difficult situation. But we don't want to completely rain on the EV parade. We're just mentioning some of the things that are obstacles for EV adoption in the United States. Other countries have some of European countries have fully adopted EV. They've gone past that 5% threshold, and they've worked out some of these kinks. Whereas we're still working on it here. And a lot of it is about money. It's about politics. It's about legislation. And
hold on a sec. Politics?
Politics.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, right now we have a Democratic presidential office that usually flips every 1 or 2 cycles.
Yeah.
It'll flip back, and we'll see what happens. But it's going to cost a lot of money to put all these chargers in across the nation. Right now, there are states that are just deserts. They're just deserts. You really wouldn't be able to drive through them and be able to charge your vehicle. So, and state by state, it varies quite a bit from pro, con, it just depends. So,
right.
There are some good things though. There's some ways that people are really embracing EV adoption.
Yeah, there's a lot of new technology. Some of it we'll be talking about, where an electric vehicle could go 600, 700, 800 miles. There's actually a couple of them out. I think Mercedes has them. They're not cheap, and they're not affordable to 95% of the population. The flip side of that is it takes energy. It takes electricity. Okay. And that's got to come from somewhere. Right now, most of it comes from fossil fuels. Okay. Hydropower, wind, solar, all those things are important and a subsidy, but they're not the end all be all. So, and we know technology is advancing at a fast pace. I'll give you another example, even with, like Charity was talking about, in other countries that are at what, 30, 40%.
They're up there.
Vehicles, right?
They're up
One
there.
of them, a journalist recently published an article in Norway about a kilowatt hour of electricity approaching $1. Well, if you do the math on what it costs to actually charge in the US, a Tesla, that's $100. That means that gas is actually cheaper in that regard. So, but you know what? We're going to figure this out. And let me tell you why. First of all, kudos to Ford. I just heard today, want to say it out loud, the first electric vehicle to be a vehicle of the year is the Ford F-150 Lightning. Okay. Congratulations to Ford.
Yeah. I haven't heard that.
Yeah. Great achievement. I just heard it this morning, 2023 vehicle of the year. It happens to be an electric vehicle and a Ford truck. Now I forgot exactly where I was going with all that. So I'm going to turn it back to you.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about manufacturers for a minute.
Okay.
Now, manufacturers, they're really embracing electric vehicles. We've heard from almost all of them that they're either switching to all gas powered cars be eliminated by 2030, 2035. They're all stretching and reaching for EV adoption. And I think that they're trying to figure it out right now, and I don't know that they'll figure it out as quickly as they really hope. But right now, if dealerships are looking to embrace EV, it might be a great time to do it. And there's a couple of reasons why that we go into in our presentation and why that might be beneficial to you. But, it's not all doom and gloom.
No, there's technology cost, equipment cost, infrastructure cost, all these things right now. they could tend to probably scare you at what it costs. We know the OEMs are subsidizing some of that. And, you may have a wait and see attitude with infrastructure and all those things at the dealership. But if you do, it's just going to cost more. And the wait times are going to be longer and longer and longer to retrofit or get your franchise dealer where it needs to go. And that creates a lot of other things we hadn't even spoke about, which is where we kind of lead. What does that have to do with fixed operation?
We are passionate about helping consumers find a great, trusted place to get their car fixed. We have 4 million uniques who come to our website each month for car repair information, and we help them find our REPAIRPAL certified locations. We also have amazing partners like USAA that offer our REPAIRPAL certified network to their customers and members. So how are we going to help dealers? Well, dealers sell 100% of the cars, but over time, after the warranty expires, the repairs go up and the revenue potential goes up, but people keep leaving the dealer over time after the warranty. By years 10 or 12, only about 20% of people are still servicing at the dealer. Why is that? There's one dominant reason, and that is price perception. And being REPAIRPAL certified helps you overcome the primary price perception problem. So come let us show you how REPAIRPAL can help you too.
It has a lot. I hear a bunch of people going, oh my God, they're scared to death. What's going to happen? Well, what's going to happen right now when you got an 80-20 defection rate, 70-30, 65-35, depending on who you're talking to. The point is, we all know it's a challenge and it's substantial at the end of the warranty period for franchise dealers. Well, for the time being, they're not going to be going to these third-party independents for anything regarding EVs. And there are going to be regular intervals for EVs. There's just not going to be a lot of fluid exchanges like what we're accustomed to now. But it's not like they're going to dominate our market, like it's going to freak out and we're not going to be able to make any money or anything like that. That's not the case at all. Gas-powered vehicles are going to be around for a long time. We're selling 15 million vehicles a year.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot. I mean, to think it's coming and it's just going to absorb into our markets is not quite realistic. There's some other factors to consider, but dealerships, depending on where you're located, it could be a real game changer for you, as far as whether you choose to adopt EV or train your staff, or dealerships are finding a lot of ways to retain their customers, and we'll go into that as well, and as to what they're doing and some of the most modern innovating things that they're coming up with. And we ask the question, what is more important, that you grab onto EV and really go for it, or take care of your customer?
Well, it's a good point. It's almost like, is the experience more important or the relationship more important? They're both equally important. But so here's the two biggest defection points. If you haven't heard it, you're going to hear it now. I'm in Zoom meetings and chat rooms and all kinds of things regarding fixed operations and tires and oil changes. What do you mean? Well, first of all, there's a lot of people that got into the tire game and got out because they couldn't make any money. You have to think long game, okay? Because the single largest purchase that a customer is going to have during the warranty period is going to be tires. And if you don't ask for it, somebody else will, and they're going to get it. And that has a lot to do with defecting and going to independent shops, right? And what helps in that defection is the oil changes, okay? You don't have to have these loser price leaders and stuff like that. It's all about more lines per hour, customer pay. I get all that, but it is about building a relationship, but it's also providing an experience, okay? Let me give you an example. Most everybody's been to a really, really nice high-end steakhouse. Not that you can do it all the time, but rarely we get an opportunity with family, friends, business, whatever the case may be. And you go to a really high-end and the experience is like second to none. The waitress, the waiter, the maitre d', everybody is exceptional. Timing is perfect. You have no wants or needs whatsoever because you're well provided for. Now, do you remember their name? No. Do you remember the experience? Yes. The thing about our memories, particularly, because I'm a customer, you're a customer, we're all customers. We don't necessarily remember exactly all the nuances of what happened, or each time we talk about it, we remember something and the story changes a little bit, but something never changes is how it made us feel. That's the kind of experience we need to provide for our customers.
Exactly. And let's talk about defection for a moment. So years ago, um, dealerships really lost out when independent service centers came in and they said, okay, they don't want to do tires, we'll do them, or oil changes. Dealerships don't want to do it or making it too much of a hassle for customers, we'll do it. And they took that business away. So now we consider if that happens with EV, there's going to be a great loss of opportunity once again for dealerships. And so it's really important that we get involved. We understand what's going to happen and how we contribute and not lose those customers before we've even started.
So great point, Charity. Some of the ways we do that is with transparency, for one. That's huge. Providing that optimal experience. There's a number of ways, some of which you'll hear at our workshop on how to do that. But, hey, elevating the customer experience. Think about, here's a good example. Here's a good starting point. Once you look at your websites. Okay.
It's a good starting spot.
Yeah. What does it take to convert? Your website is a place where all 4 of your profit centers are located. What kind of information is there? Most of it is on the variable side is great, but even that has a lot of holes in it. But on the fixed side, it's horrible. Charity mentioned this a minute ago. Not my numbers. NADA said there's 16 non-franchise entities, these independents that are jockeying and just they exist like Firestone, Goodyear, Pep Boys, Costco, Walmart, Sam's, Jiffy, go on and on and on. They're out there because of 2 things: tires and oil changes. Oil changes, yeah, they can do an oil change in 30, 45 minutes to an hour. It takes 2 or 3 hours to get an oil change at a dealership. That's why oil changes and tires are the 2 biggest defection points. If you are able to sell them tires and start to build that relationship with them, what happens after the fact, the long game is, it's just plus revenue for your business is what it is.
Yeah, there's money to be made there. Otherwise, Walmart and Costco and all these independents wouldn't be doing it. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a good opportunity for us to look to make sure that we're being competitive. What is your neighbor dealership doing? What are some of the most evolutionary dealerships doing across the country and into Canada? We look at some and we'll show you what they're doing. And it's pretty impressive. I would want to go, I got to admit, Russell, I don't go to a dealership when I need an oil change.
See?
I just go down the street to my local independent because it's quick, it's easy. Probably not cheaper, but I'll
It's
sacrifice
convenient.
that. It's convenient, but I would choose to go to a dealership and even drive further if they had some of these conveniences and amenities that we show you in this presentation. And it's pretty amazing. We can really use this as an opportunity to evolve our customer experience, our customer service, and our dealership.
Right. Transparency from the time they roll in to what happens when their vehicle's up on the lift, to the multi-point inspection that the advisor, client services rep, who, whatever you want to call them, how they interact with the customer. Hey, they're customers. They're customers, just like you, just like me. Those people we need to be transparent. Okay. If you can show them, which there's technology out there, what happens when they drive across the threshold into your service department. There's all kinds of cool technology out there that knows what the tires are doing, what they're not doing, their wear and tear, camber, toe. There's any dents or dings, what's happening on the undercarriage as soon as they drive over. It's on the lift. You're doing a rotate and balance, and you find the rotors are got gouges in them and the pads are gone. Do you just go out there and tell them, or do you have, now there's videos that you can actually show them for that transparency? Or how about pricing transparency? You just tell them it's this much money. They always go, well, I'm going to have to get back to you. I can't do that right now. It has nothing to do with that. That's an excuse. The objection is they don't feel comfortable with the price you're talking because of the stigma associated with franchise dealerships. Those are things that are all going to be changing, and we're going to talk about it in ADA.
Yeah. And that's a great spot to also say thank you to REPAIRPAL for being a sponsor. We believe in them outside of them being a sponsor. They have a really great product. Transparency is so important, and it really gets over that hurdle that a lot of advisors face we'll go into, all these different techniques. If you watch WTF on a regular basis, and listen to the guests that we have on, you've heard all of the commentary about customer service and how important it is to get to know your customer, make them feel welcome. That whole experience is more important than anything else.
It is.
It's really, it's so simple, but it's so difficult at the same time.
It is. I'd like to piggyback off that. RepairPal, phenomenal. We are so humbled and honored and blessed that they're our first sponsor. And we're real picky, and I bet they're real picky too. But we kind of just fit with each other because that's what we're about, the experience and the transparency of what our two companies doing. And we want to make sure that gets really well known out there. A lot of our clients, Charity and I's clients, have RepairPal as well. And it is one of the, if just Google it and find out. If you have any question, reach out to Charity on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, like us, share us, whatever the case may be. There may be other tools out there. I don't really know about them. This one I know, and check them out.
Yeah, it works.
Yep.
It works. They're a great company. We like to have really honest and transparent, incredible companies on our show.
That's right.
And guests as well. You know, this is a small industry. Reputation is everything.
It is.
So, I mean, thank you all for joining us on this quick, short, little insight into the presentation we're holding at NADA, how electric vehicles will change fixed operations. Please come. We want to see you there.
Thanks, Charity. Thanks, everybody out there. We'll see you there.
Thank you for watching. I hope you're enjoying this episode of WTF. We come up with new episodes and shorts all the time. We launch them on YouTube, LinkedIn, and all of your favorite podcasting networks. And we'd like to ask for your support. Please head over to our LinkedIn company page, like and follow us there. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. We have a strong lineup of automotive experts coming your way. We don't want you to miss it. Thank you so much.